God is working on the thing keeping you up at night. You know what hurts the most? It's not always the problem itself. It's carrying the problem alone. All day, you tell people you're okay. You smile. You work. You keep moving. You do what needs to be done. But when the night comes, everything gets quiet. And suddenly, the thoughts get louder. The worry gets louder. The fear gets louder. You lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the bills, thinking about the relationship, thinking about the diagnosis, thinking about the future, thinking about the problem you can't seem to solve. And the more you think about it, the heavier it becomes. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe there's something in your life that nobody knows about. A burden you've been carrying, a battle you've been fighting, a prayer you've been praying. And if you're honest, you're exhausted, not physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, because worrying is exhausting. It steals your peace. It steals your joy. It steals your sleep. And after a while, it starts stealing your hope. That's why you're listening to this today, because God wants to remind you of something. The thing keeping you awake at night is not keeping him awake. The problem you're worried about is not too difficult for God. The situation that looks impossible to you is not impossible for him. Right now, while you're worrying, God is working. While you're stressing, God is working. While you're wondering how everything will work out, God is already making a way. You may not see it. You may not understand it. You may not feel it. But God is working on the very thing that's been troubling your heart. And that's why you must not let fear tell the final story. Because fear only sees the problem. God sees the solution. Fear sees the obstacle. God sees the opportunity. Fear sees the delay. God sees the perfect timing. So take a breath, lift your eyes, and remember this. The same God who carried you before will carry you again. The same God who made a way before can make a way again. The same God who was faithful yesterday is faithful today, and he'll be faithful tomorrow. So stop trying to carry what only God can carry. Stop trying to solve what only God can solve, and start trusting the one who has never failed. Because even now, in ways you cannot see, God is working on the thing keeping you up at night. That's what worry does. It makes the problem look enormous. It makes tomorrow look frightening. It makes you believe you're trapped, that there's no way out, no solution, no answer, no hope. And if you stare at the problem long enough, you start to forget how big God is. You start measuring your future by your circumstances. You start measuring God's power by your current situation. And that's dangerous. Because your circumstances change. God doesn't. The economy changes. God doesn't. People change. God doesn't. The situation changes. God doesn't. That's why faith is so important. Faith reminds you that God is still God, even when life doesn't make sense, even when the answer hasn't arrived, even when you're still waiting. Think about all the things you've worried about in your life, the things you thought would destroy you, the things you thought you'd never survive. The things that kept you awake for weeks, months, maybe even years. And yet, here you are. You survived. You made it through. God brought you through. Not because it was easy, because he was faithful. And the same God who was faithful then will be faithful now. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Worrying doesn't solve problems. It only steals peace. Worrying doesn't change tomorrow. It only ruins today. Worrying doesn't give you control. It only gives you exhaustion. That's why God keeps telling his people, do not fear, do not be anxious, do not worry, not because problems aren't real, but because God is greater than the problems. The problem keeping you awake at night may be real. The financial pressure may be real. The uncertainty may be real. The heartbreak may be real. The fear may be real. But God's power is real too. His wisdom is real. His provision is real. His promises are real. His faithfulness is real. And sometimes, the greatest act of faith is not doing more. It's trusting more. It's releasing the burden. It's saying, God, I can't carry this anymore. It's too heavy for me, but it's not too heavy for you. That's where peace begins. Not when the problem disappears, when trust appears. Because peace doesn't come from having all the answers. Peace comes from knowing God does. So tonight, instead of replaying every worst-case scenario in your mind, talk to God. Instead of carrying the burden alone, give it to God. instead of focusing on everything that could go wrong. Remember who is in control, because while you're trying to figure it out, God has already gone ahead of you. He's already in tomorrow, already in the solution, already working on the very thing that's causing you stress. And that's why you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're not God. He is, and He has never lost control. Maybe that's the real reason you're exhausted. Not because the problem is too big, because you've been trying to carry it alone. You've been carrying the pressure, the uncertainty, the fear, the responsibility, the questions, day after day, week after week, month after month, trying to hold everything together, trying to stay strong for everyone else, trying to act like you're okay, trying to convince yourself that if you just think about it long enough, you'll find the answer. But instead of finding peace, you found exhaustion, because some burdens were never meant to be carried by human shoulders. Some battles were never meant to be fought without God. And maybe that's why you're so tired. You've been carrying tomorrow's problems today. You've been carrying situations you can't control. You've been carrying outcomes that belong to God. Think about how much energy you've spent worrying, how many nights you've lost, how many hours you've spent imagining worst-case scenarios, how many times you've replayed the same problem in your mind, again and again and again, as if worrying about it enough would somehow solve it. But has it? Has worry brought you peace? Has worry brought you answers? Has worry changed the outcome? Or has it simply stolen moments you'll never get back? That's the cruel thing about worry. It promises control, but delivers fear. It promises protection, but delivers stress. It promises solutions, but delivers sleepless nights. And while you're carrying all of that weight, God is saying, give it to me. Not because He doesn't understand, because He understands better than you do. He sees the whole picture. You see one chapter. He sees the entire story. You see the obstacle. He sees the opportunity hidden behind it. You see the closed door. He sees the door that's about to open. You see the delay. He sees the preparation. You see the pain. He sees the purpose. That's why trust matters so much. Because trust allows you to release what you cannot control. Trust allows you to sleep when you don't have answers. Trust allows you to breathe when life feels overwhelming. Trust allows you to keep moving forward when fear wants you to stop. And maybe that's the lesson God is teaching you right now. Not how to carry more, how to surrender more, not how to become stronger on your own, how to become more dependent on Him. Because real faith isn't saying, I can handle this. Real faith is saying, God, I can't handle this without you. That's where miracles begin. That's where peace begins. That's where freedom begins. The moment you stop pretending to be God. The moment you stop trying to control everything. The moment you place the burden into the hands of the one who never fails. Because the truth is, God isn't asking you to figure everything out. He's asking you to trust Him. He's not asking you to carry the future. He's asking you to walk with Him one day at a time, one prayer at a time, one step at a time. And if you do that, something incredible happens. The problem may not disappear immediately. The situation may not change overnight. But your heart begins to change. The fear begins to loosen its grip. The anxiety begins to lose its power. The stress begins to lose its control. Not because everything is fixed, because you finally remembered who's in charge. And that's the reminder you need tonight. The thing keeping you up at night is already in God's hands. The question is, will you trust Him enough to leave it there? Let me ask you something. What if the prayer you're worried about has already been heard? What if the answer is already on the way? What if God is already moving people, opening doors, arranging circumstances, and you simply can't see it yet? Because that's often how God works. Quietly, behind the scenes, without announcements, without explanations, without revealing every detail. And that's what makes waiting so difficult. You want proof. You want certainty. You want to know exactly how everything will work out. But God rarely gives the whole picture. He gives the next step. Think about it. If God showed you every detail of your future, you would need faith. If He explained every delay, you would need trust. If He answered every question immediately, you wouldn't need to depend on Him. But dependence is where faith grows. And faith is what carries you through seasons like this. The seasons where you don't know what's next. The seasons where the future feels uncertain. The seasons where you're praying the same prayer over and over again, wondering if heaven is listening, wondering if anything is changing, wondering if your breakthrough will ever come. But listen carefully. Just because you can't see movement doesn't mean God isn't moving. A farmer doesn't dig up a seed every day to check if it's growing. He trusts the process. He trusts what's happening underground. And in the same way, you have to trust what God is doing beneath the surface. Because some of God's greatest work happens where human eyes cannot see. While you're sleeping, God is working. While you're waiting, God is working. While you're fighting fear, God is working. While you're wondering how it's all going to come together, God is already ahead of you, already preparing tomorrow, already making a way, already handling details you don't even know exist. That's why worry is such a heavy burden. It tries to make you solve problems that belong to God. It tries to make you carry responsibilities that belong to God. It tries to convince you that everything depends on you. But it doesn't. God was taking care of things before you got worried. God will still be taking care of things after you stop worrying. Because He's God, and you're not. That's not weakness. That's freedom. The freedom to trust. The freedom to rest. The freedom to place the burden into stronger hands. So tonight, instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong? Ask yourself, what if God is already working everything out? What if this delay is protection? What if this waiting is preparation? What if this season is leading to something greater than you can imagine? Because sometimes the answer isn't that God has forgotten you. Sometimes the answer is that God is preparing something bigger than you've been praying for. And when the time is right, you'll see it, you'll understand it, and you'll realize that while you were worried about the outcome, God was already working on the answer. Let me ask you something. What if the prayer you're worried about has already been heard? What if the answer is already on the way? What if God is already moving people, opening doors, arranging circumstances, and you simply can't see it yet? Because that's often how God works. Quietly, behind the scenes, without announcements, without explanations, without revealing every detail. And that's what makes waiting so difficult. You want proof. You want certainty. You want to know exactly how everything will work out. But God rarely gives the whole picture. He gives the next step. Think about it. If God showed you every detail of your future, you would need faith. If He explained every delay, you would need trust. If He answered every question immediately, you wouldn't need to depend on Him. But dependence is where faith grows. And faith is what carries you through seasons like this. The seasons where you don't know what's next. The seasons where the future feels uncertain. The seasons where you're praying the same prayer over and over again, wondering if heaven is listening, wondering if anything is changing, wondering if your breakthrough will ever come. But listen carefully. Just because you can't see movement doesn't mean God isn't moving. A farmer doesn't dig up a seed every day to check if it's growing. He trusts the process. He trusts what's happening underground. And in the same way, you have to trust what God is doing beneath the surface. Because some of God's greatest work happens where human eyes cannot see. While you're sleeping, God is working. While you're waiting, God is working. While you're fighting fear, God is working. While you're wondering how it's all going to come together, God is already ahead of you, already preparing tomorrow, already making a way, already handling details you don't even know exist. That's why worry is such a heavy burden. It tries to make you solve problems that belong to God. It tries to make you carry responsibilities that belong to God. It tries to convince you that everything depends on you. But it doesn't. God was taking care of things before you got worried. God will still be taking care of things after you stop worrying. Because He's God, and you're not. That's not weakness. That's freedom. The freedom to trust. The freedom to rest. The freedom to place the burden into stronger hands. So tonight, instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong? Ask yourself, what if God is already working everything out? What if this delay is protection? What if this waiting is preparation? What if this season is leading to something greater than you can imagine? Because sometimes the answer isn't that God has forgotten you. Sometimes the answer is that God is preparing something bigger than you've been praying for. And when the time is right, you'll see it, you'll understand it, and you'll realize that while you were worried about the outcome, God was already working on the answer. Have you ever noticed something? Most of the things we worry about never actually happen, yet we suffer through them anyway. We suffer in our imagination. We suffer in our thoughts. We suffer in scenarios that only exist in our minds. That's what fear does. It takes a possibility and convinces you it's a certainty. It takes a problem and makes it feel permanent. It takes tomorrow's uncertainty and turns it into today's burden. Before you know it, you're fighting battles that haven't happened, carrying weights that don't exist, losing sleep over outcomes that may never come. And the entire time, God is asking you one question. Why are you carrying something I never asked you to carry? Think about that. How much of your stress comes from things that haven't happened yet? How much of your anxiety comes from trying to predict the future? How much of your fear comes from imagining the worst? The human mind has a way of creating storms, even when the sky is clear. That's why worry is so dangerous, because it blinds you to reality. It blinds you to God's faithfulness. It blinds you to the blessings that still exist around you. It blinds you to the fact that God has already carried you through things you once thought would destroy you. Remember those moments? The situations you thought were impossible? The seasons you thought you'd never survive? The problems that kept you awake years ago? Look at you now. They're behind you. Not because you figured everything out, because God brought you through. And if God brought you through those battles, why do you think He'll abandon you in this one? He won't. That's the lie fear keeps trying to sell you. Fear says, this time is different. Fear says, this problem is too big. Fear says, you're on your own. But God says, I've been with you the entire time. Every victory, every survival, every breakthrough, every answered prayer, every closed door that protected you, every open door that blessed you. God was there, and He's still here, right now, in the middle of your uncertainty, in the middle of your waiting, in the middle of the thing that's keeping you awake at night. You may not know how everything will work out, but you don't need to, because your peace was never supposed to come from knowing the future. Your peace comes from knowing God, knowing that He sees what you cannot see, knowing that He knows what you do not know, knowing that nothing surprises Him, nothing overwhelms Him, nothing is beyond His power. So maybe tonight, instead of feeding your fears, feed your faith. Instead of replaying worst-case scenarios, remember God's faithfulness. Instead of asking, what if everything falls apart? Ask, what if God is already holding everything together? Because the thing you fear most may never happen, but the faithfulness of God, that has never failed, not once. One of the reasons worry feels so heavy is because you're trying to live in a day that hasn't arrived yet. Your mind is in tomorrow. Next week, next month, next year, you're trying to solve problems that don't exist yet. Answer questions that haven't been asked yet. Fight battles that haven't happened yet. And that's exhausting, because God never gave you grace for next year. He gave you grace for today. That's why Jesus said not to worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has its own challenges. Tomorrow has its own battles. Tomorrow has its own responsibilities. And when tomorrow arrives, God's grace will be there too. But right now, you're borrowing tomorrow's burdens and carrying them today. No wonder you're tired. No wonder you're stressed. No wonder you feel overwhelmed. You've been trying to carry 2 days at once, today and tomorrow, when God only asked you to carry one. Think about how much time you've spent worrying about the future of your finances, the future of your family, the future of your career, the future of your health, the future of your life. And yet, no amount of worrying has ever changed the future. Not once. Worry cannot add a single day to your life. It cannot solve a single problem. It cannot create a single miracle, but it can steal your peace. It can steal your joy. It can steal your trust. That's why the enemy loves worry so much, because worry keeps your eyes on the problem, while faith keeps your eyes on God. And where you focus matters, because when you focus on the problem gets bigger. But when you focus on God, your faith gets bigger. Your peace gets bigger. Your confidence gets bigger. Not confidence in yourself, confidence in Him. Confidence that God already knows what's coming. Confidence that nothing catches Him by surprise. Confidence that He's already in tomorrow. Think about that. You're worried about tomorrow, but God is already there. You're worried about the outcome, but God already sees the outcome. You're worried about how everything will work out, but God already knows. He's already ahead of you, already preparing the way, already making provisions, already arranging details, already working on the thing that's causing you stress. And maybe that's why you need to stop asking, what am I going to do? And start asking, God, what do you want me to do today? Not next month, not next year, today. Because faith is lived one day at a time, one prayer at a time, one step at a time. That's how peace returns. When you stop trying to control the future and start trusting the God who already holds it. So tonight, leave tomorrow where it belongs, in God's hands, because the God who is taking care of today is already waiting for you in tomorrow. If we're honest, most of our stress comes from timing, not the problem itself, the timing. We want answers now. We want the breakthrough now. We want the door to open now. We want the pain to end now. We want God to fix everything immediately. And when He doesn't, we start asking questions. Why is this taking so long? What is God waiting for? Why hasn't anything changed? But what if the delay isn't the problem? What if the delay is part of the miracle? Think about how many times you've wanted something you were convinced was right, something you prayed for, something you begged God to give you. And later, you realized it would have been a disaster. The relationship, the opportunity, the decision, the door. At the time, you thought God was saying no, but He was actually protecting you. Because God sees things you don't. He sees consequences you don't see. He sees dangers you don't see. He sees opportunities you don't see. And that's why His timing is different. Not worse, better. A child may think the parent is being unfair, but the parent sees what the child cannot. In the same way, there are things God knows that you don't. People He's protecting you from, mistakes He's preventing, lessons He's teaching, blessings He's preparing. And if He gave you everything the moment you asked, you might receive what you wanted, but miss what you needed. That's why waiting seasons are so important. Because waiting reveals what we truly trust. Do we trust God only when He says yes? Or do we trust Him when He says wait? Because sometimes God's answer is no. It's not yet. Not because He doesn't love you. Because He loves you enough to wait for the right moment. The moment when you're ready. The moment when the blessing is ready. The moment when everything comes together exactly as He planned. And when that moment arrives, you'll understand why God didn't rush. You'll understand why He made you wait. You'll understand why some doors stayed closed. Because you'll finally see what He was protecting. You'll finally see what He was building. You'll finally see what He was preparing. And suddenly, the delay will make sense. The waiting will make sense. The confusion will make sense. Not because everything happened your way, because everything happened God's way. And God's way is always higher, always wiser, always better. So if you're frustrated tonight, stop looking at the clock. Start looking at God. Stop measuring His faithfulness by your timeline. Start measuring it by His character. Because God has never been late. Not once. He may not come when you expect. He may not move when you demand. But He always arrives at the right time. Always. And the thing that's causing you stress right now, the thing that's keeping you awake at night, the thing you've been carrying for far too long, is still under God's control. So trust Him, even the waiting, even in the silence, even in the uncertainty, because God's timing has never failed, and it won't fail you. The battle is not yours to carry anymore. Give it to God. Close your eyes. Trust Him. And remember, while you're trying to figure it out, God is already working it out.